fight for chance, but it is do or die for the side of KC. And every time we see this matchup, Kakuka, it is an insane series every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to know what is going to happen with the map veto. Yes, we spoke about the things for the side of Fnatic, but for KC, especially having a new player and trying to get everything worked up together, and potentially for champs, I wonder if they change something. Well, the ban is still Ascent, and they decide to pick onto Haven. I wonder why.
Not massively surprised by this, I don't think. What do you think, Minnie?
No, this is like, I tried to predict the vetoes and I got it right for once. I got everything right. So I feel quite proud of that one. Yeah, KC punishing Fnatic with the Haven, looking at those weaknesses that Bear was looking at. And it'll be interesting to see what if KC used the same kind of game plan of using that garage space. And then Fnatic on the road, it looked so good last week.
Yeah, and Fnatic pick to start on defense on Haven. Flyer,
it's a statement.
Yeah, what do you think about this choice, and what did you think about their defense?
I mean, in my opinion, or I'll say their defense first. Their defense was definitely very weak. It seems very like free and open. Like it doesn't seem like they actually have like a whole lot of ideas of like playing together or like set. It's more so just like play on your own. I would say that I think their approach is just get rid of the hard side for them first and then get on the comfortable side. So instantly when they go to attack, they have more control and they'll come back if they're down.
Also, the third map being a bind, like I think that Fnatic, you know, they've had a good Lotus, so I want to see if, but they lost it against KC. So maybe I would have liked to see that they're like settle on the Lotus. I would like to know how they're feeling about the map, because at the end of the day, they're still on the verge of like everything has to be ready for champs.
Yeah, for me though, I think the bind makes sense. They love bind. They've been first picking it a few times as well. But overall though, quite a balanced veto, all things considered.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has like a massive advantage or a massive disadvantage from where they should be at in this veto.
Yeah, I mean, so much comes down to form too when you come into an elimination match like this. But let's talk about this Haven, because Flyer, of course, you're familiar with Casey's Haven.
Yes.
Yeah, talk us through what they do.
Well, what is it
do.
like being on the receiving end? Because you were also playing back.
I mean, they're super, super heavy on their attacks, taking garage, just like, they like dueling. And on their defense, they love flooding. Like, they just start everywhere. They start 1-3-1s. They like being on the same site you show instantly. Like, there's a lot of manipulation with them, in my opinion. And they want to fight you more than anything.
Yeah, and I think Boaster will do a very good job. He should do a good job on the attack side of reading into that. Like, Casey don't have the rotational tools, like, in order to kind of fill those gaps. So as soon as they're stacked up in a spot, Boaster should be able to read that and go somewhere else. So I'm looking for that from him today on the attack side.
Yeah, maybe we see more changes potentially, because obviously when they played this map, Pyro wasn't there. We know that Sada has moved around, so I want to know if they continue even with the double duelist. Fly, you were speaking about the gambles, no? The Eng does of how strong he is at kickoff and just being surprises. So I wonder if in just 1 week he can do all of this, because as we said, it's do or die for them.
Yep.
It is, and Casey, if it's any team that could do that, not even a week, a day, it is them, you know. They're not afraid to make changes. They're not afraid to be weird. And as we take a look at agent select, I even want to know if Fnatic changed their comp, because they're not usually the team that do that. They don't they're not trigger happy about it.
Nobody believes
and
you.
my goodness,
Did not lock that.
Yeah, I mean, he's never going to do this. But yeah, talk me through the Aves over on Phoenix on this map. And of course, that does look like Static will stick to that. Cypher as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Pyro will be going on the Sova. They do not change the composition. They just change the roles there. Let's see how Pyro, also as the sole initiator for this team, especially started on the attack, how he merges with the rest, and if he's going to be good support for the duelists.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that, you know, in week 5 we saw that Fartine was no longer there. It was Martin again, and Flyer again, a massive win condition if you have your Yoru Phoenix players shooting on the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just, when they build their comps on every map, they go for comfortability. They want these two to fight because of how strong they are individually. And Martin's also picking up the scope more, the off, a lot than what it was before, and he's looking really dangerous on it.
I think for me, it's going to be about Sadak when you talk about that in-pack versus out-of-pack. Usually we talk about it on the attack side, and I think that's going to be interesting. But on the defense, how are they going to problem solve when he's probably towards that C side of the map, and his players are having to deal with Fnatic re-clearing A and doing things there? He's probably not going to be able to input in the same way he usually would on the defense.
And I don't want to hone in more about Fnatic and their defense on Haven, but what I did not show in that Telestrator is what happened on the later rounds, right when the map was about to end. And it was Fnatic just being incredibly aggressive onto mid. Speaking of TP and just running out of double doors, just a little bit. I think that we're speaking of desperation a lot today, but finding solutions later just because they couldn't deal with that. I want them to be, whomever wins this map, I want them to be sure of what they're doing. I want to see good adaptation from Fnatic from what they've learned, and a good good read also from the side of KC, expecting that Fnatic have done their homework.
Yeah, and especially considering KC are coming into this playoffs after beating Team Liquid. I think they have to be, you know, in a state of confidence. Maybe this honeymoon period you guys spoke about is going to be activated right now. And I want to activate some casters as well. So over to you, Hazza and Cairo.
Thank you, Sue. Yes, it's a long way from home for the French teams in VCT EMEA. 4 wins required against 2 teams that we saw in the top 4 last stage on the gauntlet that they have to run. For KC here, it gets no easier against our previous champions.
No, it doesn't. In the past year or so, we've seen this matchup 5 times, and well, KC's only been able to win it once. That was all the way back in 2024 kickoff. So your automatic favourites would be Fnatic.
That result, of course, denying the Juggernaut from returning to the international stage. It was Fnatic at their peak. Our introduction to the new era of KC, and an even newer one here with Pyrol in the face of it. It's a long road to that grand finals, as we know. We're kicking off on the attack side of Haven. It's a bold pick to make against Fnatic, one they're hoping is going to pay off.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Fnatic decide to start on the defender side as well. Get the difficult one done early doors and trying to fight brawl in towards A lobby. Boaster the one leading the charge, and he's got 3!
Boaster really getting involved with a lot of the duels on their attack side last time for Fnatic, but immediately setting the tempo, and KC fully crunched.
Yeah, Alpha here on the flag. Both players not looking. Sugexu turns, flicks Alpha's head. Also the spike. Just to look for a way towards one of the sites.
A inclined as it stands, but back into 3 players on the Fnatic side, and only going to get 1 in the end. So a strong start for the defense.
Yeah, a great start to that defender side, which is exactly what you want for the Fnatic fans. Obviously, yesterday we think about the pistol round win. Yesterday, sorry, 2 days ago, it feels like yesterday. And the Fnatic pistol round wins, EBL able to win a decent amount of them. But it was the anti-equals that Fnatic were able to bounce back on.
That opens up the immediate conversation that Fnatic are in the lower bracket here and will be looking towards Boaster to try and guide them towards success. It's the same case in Toronto, of course, but in terms of a stage 2, completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and I think like this is a nice conversation to be talking about this Alpha cleans house and garage. About just the problems that Fnatic have been having in general, right? You think of that map pool and all the problems, how exposed that they look with it. A statistic for you, Hazza.
Yeah?
Do you know how many maps Fnatic have played this year so far?
I do, because you told me in the green room. Would you like to tell the rest of the house as well?
Yeah, of course. Fnatic have played 79 maps this year, compared to KC, who have played 62. And to give you an example of what that actually means, Fnatic have essentially played an extra group stage where every series has went to 3 maps. Crashes closes it out, and a nice anti-eco converted for Fnatic.
It's a strong start for them here. I mean, after seeing the Haven last time, we were wondering, maybe even building into champs, would there be an additional iteration? The objectives changing with qualification already secured. We're coming into the gun round. Statistics bolstered. Alpha getting off to a hot start as well. KC perhaps looking at taking the mid space to start. Flyer on the desk already mentioned Garage, and that one so far seems to be under control.
Under Alpha's banner, but Avez get things started off right. Kayak going off the board, trying to go walkies.
Yeah, from the attack macro we saw of this version of KC against Liquid, they were very slow, playing as a pack. The calling will be different fundamentally for Sadak on the Cypher, a role which he previously played towards the beginning of his career. And now grouped up with the Spike at his side, Pyrol starting to work the C long space. Althea repositioning in Garage as Crashies catches info on the other extremity.
Martin placing his TP to combine himself with the forces that are elsewhere. But Alpha needs to be careful about his positioning.
Thinking about a recommitment towards the mid space, but Sugetsu is holding on to it. And a real advantage for KC now, a 5 versus 3. 2 players to the good, but still a lot of ground to cover to get towards C, which does remain the negative space. Fnatic starting to move over themselves.
Yeah, this gun round has been Fnatic being proactive, taking things into their own terms, but KC being able to defend that. Time getting low, and KC need to make a move. It's going to be the C site where Boaster is, and there's a couple of players very close by.
I think Crashies has spotted this as well, so Boaster teeing up the blind side, gets the first of the kills off the back of the paranoia, and Crashies right behind it. 10 seconds. Spike only now going in, and the flank has been detected. Kron on the scene. KC starting to fight towards defender spawn.
Yeah, there's also a dart that Crashies can use to set up Kron as well, if he can get into position in time.
From behind this Viper wall, it does feel like a good opportunity to split the post plant that is currently sat on site, but Sadak from the corner, resolute with the rifle in hand now. Kron has work to do to try and at least create a bit of damage here, but it's going to be too much to ask of him. And KC will have liftoff on Haven.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that we've seen already in terms of what we expect from this match. You were speaking about the garage and how important that can be for KC, but also talking about Kukuka's Telestrator segment that she did and the mid-aggression as well, right? Speaking of that, we've already seen it from Fnatic, and KC well up to the challenge and well aware of what Fnatic's priorities are.
Finds itself directly linked to what the Killjoy setup is, and there are 2 players in garage, reinforced by the Viper wall from Kron. He's had a little more defensive on B, but Kayak's done his job. The op in play, finding that first kill, where they went down 3v5 before. Oh my lord, Martine immediately catches our attention. That quick double on A has forced this quick reaction.
Not ready yet.
Players for Fnatic trying to flood over, but there's plenty of bodies for KC to overwhelm the site if needed.
Trying to get there, but it's a slow creep towards the site. Kayak's already arrived with the op in hand.
It's a glass cannon op.
How much value could he possibly get from this position? KC completely stalled out, and with Kayak on the angle, it's Martine to win the fight. Has his number this time. Kron still playing behind the cloud. Break of the dart, and KC reconsider.
Yeah, I mean, they've got so much time to play with. Why would you try and exec into a site where all of Fnatic's players are? But as ever, Fnatic on the prowl, trying to be proactive and trying to get to C site first where Alpha is.
The Viper wall is up as well. It's only going to help aid Alpha make this crossing. Safe passage backside. Martine to try and open up the play. Has he been left unconsidered? It seems to be the case, but Martine does crack the whip and collect his 4th. Kron finished off by the shock dart, and it's a tied game outside of the first 4 rounds. KC responding in the rifle.
And I think the big thing already as well is performance-wise, Martine is top of the pops. I mean, you think of the last 2 rounds, the value that he's been able to find.
Why not?
Yeah. And a 4K from this round just shows you...
Bobby on him!
It just shows you, like, he's ready for this playoff run, which Karmine Corp really need.
We need to see that consistency from him, because you say he's top of the scoreboard, and it is through the 4K which he just picked up, but that has to channel round on round, and we do get it here. The Outlaw out for punishment. Alves watching Ceylon, collecting Kayak. Fnatic down to their last 3 members yet again. These pushes have been foiled so far by KC, and to carry on the Martine conversation, yeah, we'll get a look at his stats in just a little bit, but it's the last couple of games where we have started to see him bring those numbers back up. It's the decision-making for me, though, which is most pivotal in making sure that he stays at the top level, which is ultimately what KC need if they're to have any chance of this champs run.
Yeah, and I think as well, coming out of last year, 2024, people were saying Martine probably like top 3, top 4 duelists in the region, right? This year has fallen to the wayside, and for a player that I was really excited about coming from Tier 2, you know, me and you try to support those players coming up, I just felt like, I don't know, there was a lot more to be desired when it came to his performances.
30 seconds left.
The round's still at play, and while the clock is running down, it isn't Fnatic on the attack. KC have taken their time, but assessed the options and found the A site. All three players here on the defense, but still Sheriff's in hand. Zane getting low. The edge of the smoke, Boaster finally reveals his position. Flood out covered. Alves has it handled well. KC now in the lead. That was the half invest from Fnatic, of course. This is where you expect them to buck up their ideas, especially with ults in play.
Yeah, 100%. You've got the lockdown there. Martin with a dimensional drift. Obviously, they run it back to Aves. So, Karmine Corp, you could argue, have the better of the scope of ultimates.
This map for them coming in, you were thinking as well. Sure, the result against Koi was strong. Fnatic playing the same opponent and narrowly getting over the line in comparison to the dominance we saw from the French side. Looks like a quick pace change. Alves right into Garage with the run it back.
Yeah, and also, he's got the fake clone, the Euro clone, to try and fake steps as well.
Okay. So it will be a B execution here for KC, and there is a vacuum that they'll look to fill.
Straight in, but so are Fnatic. Look at the extremities here. Alpha close by. You can see Kayak looking to poke and prod towards that A lobby as well. So while the spike goes down, KC are losing a lot of map control at the same time.
That's maybe where you'd look to get Martin involved. Has the dimensional drift, but the sewers lockdown from Alpha forces players towards Garage. Big fight about to go down with the ult now in play.
Still a trap there for KC to get that extra information if needed, and they're trying to explore elsewhere. KC get one back, make that two, make that three, and it's Pyro to do it. Throwing out a Garage, trying to make his way through, but you look at the position of the last two players, there's no way that Kron should have a chance, and he does not. The French side make it a lead of 2.
Brilliant round from Pyrol. The previous week, of course, just him settling in to the squad. Precious time spent, every moment on that stage. And KC responding to a difficult round set up by Fnatic. You can see Martin, when he exits his ult, is all the way out on the C side, then drops back in to deny the diffuser once the spike had already been halved. Early timeout called on the Fnatic side to respond to this. But back to that Pyrol conversation. Yeah, it's all about climatizing him as quickly as possible. So having 3 maps with overtime against Liquid definitely maximized the opportunity they had to do that.
Yeah, I would agree, but it's also a trial by fire, right? Your first game against Team Liquid, that's a tough one. Yeah, what's your next one going to be? Pyro, you're playing against Fnatic, mate, so good luck.
The fact that KC had qualified to the playoff stage before reaching that match definitely did aid their preparation, and it draws me back to the question I posed at the start. Were we going to potentially see them play their strat book out, or wait until these playoff games now where Paris is on the line ultimately to actually start bringing out a bit more strategic depth? And I think you saw a semblance of that in the previous round, at least with how they want to factor the ults in. 5 out of 5 from them against Koi. So the first couple of defeats immediately off the pistol. And here you can see, yeah, Fnatic have that kind of credit on their CV.
About the performance, you can't just live off the history that you've been able to make as an organisation. It's about the here and now. They look to try and take it in the here and now as they push in towards the KC backline.
Similar position to what we had before from Kron. This time it's a stinger though. Up close. The clear must be diligent.
Oh,
Kayak's baiting for it, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just been seen. You can see Sadak being lured in, but no, instead goes elsewhere. Still very stagnant from KC though.
Kron looking for his time to strike. He can smell blood in the water. Alves gonna go looking punished. And there you have it. Fnatic with an opening. And the wall from Kayak as well. Oh, the supportive utility is superb. Gets out of there, no trouble.
Yeah, and now KC left, scratching their heads. How do we get numbers back on our side? What do we do to try and make this round in our favour? Because with the bodies all in Fnatic's favour, they can start to bundle up now, and you can see that towards the C side of the map, especially Garage where Kron and Kayak still are.
By getting that information off the cam, but as soon as they go knocking on the door of Garage, it's a reposition from Fnatic. Now ready to receive the B execution.
Crashy's a little bit more hesitant to move any further forward. He's the weak side of this hold, and Booster at the same time gets caught out towards the left side of B main. The players making their way towards A get denied by Crashies, but that spike will be going down. Or will it? That's a big Hunter's Fury, and manages to get one. That's Fnatic, 3 to the good.
Martin with 4 players to get past. He's found his first.
Yeah, you know he's good for it, but he isn't good for any more. Fnatic answer back straight after the timeout.
Thrifty.
KC, honestly, looking a little bit panicked as the pay safe card Thrifty goes Fnatic's way. After that first kill, you're seeing Sadak is playing as part of the pack, and this was another one of the questions I had. With him not taking up many lurks on another 3-site map, Lotus previously, I wondered, is it going to be more of the same here? If he's having to maybe micromanage Pyroll a little bit more as well, does it then make that macro calling a little bit harder for him? Right now at the foot of the scoreboard, but I think sort of stats aside, yeah, it was just a really well set up round from Fnatic. They want more of that in middle.
Now continuing to force the issue.
Placing swamp grenade.
It is though. Towards Garage, and Sadak all on his own with no possibility of being traded, gets caught out.
One of the times you do see the 4-1, now into Garage.
That Blaze Wall's doing so much. The alarm bot can't see the players walking through. Con gets picked up. Poster though, looking for a quick trade.
Drop down, but Sugetsu expects it. Knows Boaster's tricks well. KC and Fnatic more than familiar. And this time, KC will be taking the lead for themselves, but it's important to address that as well. Maybe not the best example in the round, but these teams have been scrim partners so far in the stage after that opening match for the following weeks. Not expecting to see Fnatic in this lower bracket because, as I said before, it's not something we usually see from them later in a year. In fact, we've never seen Fnatic in a lower bracket in Stage 2. It's only happened a few times in general in EMEA. Lowers in Stage 1 last year and both kickoff events, of course. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Stage 2 and Fnatic. Stage 2, they generally never miss a grand final, right? The last time that they did so was all the way back in 2021.
Jeez, man. Yeah, how much of a feather duster, how big did you need to dust off those history books? Because that's been a long time.
I looked at Tom Biz's Twitter, mate, to be honest.
Usually does the trick. Yeah. Little VLR scoreboard here and there.
Sure.
No harm done. But yeah, we coming out of this round, I think another player to be looking at on the opposite side is going to be Alpha, plying his trade in the second stage, always looking like one of the best players that Fnatic have towards the later end of the year.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good look for him considering the year that he's had, and the fact that people were saying, like, is he up to his best? Is he starting to have a performance dip? And straight away, as the year progresses, he's back to it.
Crashy's the one to start this round in Fnatic's favour, though. These first engagements have very often indicated the direction of the round. Fnatic only finding their first outside of the opening 2 means that KC have been able to turn these situations on their head. But a 5 versus 3 as Kron makes the next incision through B, has them sat in mid with little options and little space.
So much control for Fnatic, but Boaster being all alone on A. It's a player that needs to be careful. That could open up that A side of the map for KC to walk into, or at least create a question mark that Fnatic need to re-clear.
Has to be cautious playing by himself. Crashies his duo called over, up in arms on A, but thinks better of it, now towards Link.
Yeah, but look how far Martin's getting at the minute.
He has found a lot of space towards A. The question is, can he clear out enough space? Can he find Boaster? And you're expecting at this point in the round for Fnatic to start reacting themselves, moving more players, more bodies towards this site.
The timing's insane. Boaster doesn't know, and he's been found by Martin. That should allow the spike to make its way on towards site. There's a little bit of a gap in timing to allow the spike down easy enough. But where does KC go with a post plan on the front foot?
Still 2 flashes left here for KC. One of them used by Martin to take that aggressive fight. Sugetsu notes the flank. They should be looking towards defender spawn now.
Yeah, but time and the delay, it's going to not work in Fnatic's favour. They want all 3 players here, and with Alpha so far away, it's going to allow Martin to play in the smoke. 2 apiece, more utility being sent forward, and that smoke going allows Alpha the next kill. Sugetsu now needs to clutch up a clean headshot, leaves him in a 1 versus 1 against Alpha. The spike looking to be halved, but Sugetsu looking to try and find the next fight, but it goes Alpha's way.
It's not going to be close enough though. A Red Bull clutch for Sugetsu. Playing the time all the way down, that second tap not baited for. So it'll slip through the fingers of Alpha. It's brilliant work from Martin to kick this round off, and these are the moments that you're putting under scrutiny. If he can find the right fight, he does. The skin of their teeth, KC staying in front and building on that lead.
Heartbreak.
Just 1 rifle round picked up from Fnatic.
And that should have been the second. Let's be honest. Should have brought them within 1, but now the gap grows to 3. KC on this attack side really getting momentum that it's going to allow them to put themselves in a good position for the second half. Ultimate's available though for Fnatic and KC. Depends where they want to use them.
For the time being, it looks like the attack is gearing up towards the C site. Very exposed turret in front of the Viper wall from Alpha to just check for any player presence. Yet to register. Meantime, Martin is trying to fake A as much as he possibly can. This Euro has usually been a telegraph for where KC look to plot their course.
Here.
Still very reserved in the mid-round. This is what Sadak was brought into the team for, his effectiveness at these stages of the game, but still a stalemate.
And you look at Fnatic, previously in rounds were being proactive, this time round very reserved. We're going to get the dimensional drift on towards B, where Boaster sits above. He's been identified and picked up. Unfortunate, Hunter's Fury in towards C-Link. It isn't quite connecting.
Errol will land 1 of those pulses at the very least. Kayak and Crashies clamping on down. Spike still not yet planted in the pit to recover.
Finally it will be. And yeah, as you said, Viper's pit deposited straight away and 1 back towards Fnatic.
Plant in though. KC will just be looking for spam. Crashies can alleviate all of his pressure.
He can and does. Big pick. Now the player's distracted in B, and Crashies knows about Sugetsu trying to flank him. He's doing this all by himself and calling for players to get on the spike, but Hafez is denying it.
No half.
It's not, but finally it will be. And now the players looking at Fnatic to find the picks, which they will, but is there enough time for Crashies to finish this out?
Just about. He's going to be able to get it over the line, and Fnatic will find another round through a retake. It is one which they pay a hefty price for. 3 of their ultimates spent. But I think you take that trade almost every day of the week with how some of these rounds have been playing out.
I mean, Crashies is doing God's work on this flank and through.
You play so weird.
Not what they expected from the previous reps that they'd got, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely not.
So we will see the second timeout of this first half, and this time it finds itself painted in KC blue, wanting to maximize their returns, heading on to the defender's side, which looked better for them, arguably. An 8-4 against Koi.
Yeah.
Checking in with the coaching staff, they have ults to build around. Fnatic, of course, investing theirs in the previous.
I think with this match as well, like we spoke about Pyro and his trial by fire, I think as well KC playing against Team Liquid being able to win that out. This is how they go and prove that that wasn't a one-off, right? Going and beating Fnatic, starting their lower bracket run perfectly, and against, you think towards the next stage, GX, right? They're on a little bit of form of their own, and a completely winnable game for Karmine Corp.
Yeah, I think that's the one difference between KC's run and some of the other teams that we've seen in a similar position. BBL have been showing their results since kickoff, and GX have grown throughout the group stages, pulling off a number of upsets along the way. KC, on the other hand, have to build from the ground up. The roster change and the consequences that that brings just leads back to the narrative in the previous week. How long does the honeymoon phase last?
Open all the way to Paris.
The city of love.
Yeah,
Perfect for a honeymoon.
yeah, that it is. Spike down and straight into a post plant. Very early doors. Fnatic now have to pick up. And where do they go for this retake? It seems as if bodies are committed mostly towards the seaside.
Aves doubling down though with this run it back. Alpha's going to spot him and chalk off a lot of the HP. Molly at the feet, sets up Sadak, converts. Defuse still not yet worked on, but finally Fnatic have to get their hands busy. Kayak flooding out to create some of this space. There's no second layer, no flank this time. They're fully reliant on being able to dissuade the players that face them down. Aves do lease of life back out of the ult. Another kill for him, and numbers in their favor until Crashies steps on the scene again. 3 kills from him, but it still might not suffice. A smoke post-mortem boaster, but it's Pyro to bail them out again.
These post plants from KC, it's just utility simulator. So many flashes, so much to just throw at their opponents. And also the fact that they're trying to upset the retake by playing on the front foot, using the run it back to stop anybody getting out of garage.
Shut down.
And yeah, I mean, brilliant from Pyro to get that double at the end. 7-4 is the scoreline we find ourselves at. KC need another round to make sure that they will have a sustainable lead for the next half.
Half of the kills that Pyro has so far have been in clutch situations. It's not often. It's rare that you see a player arrive at the stage in those kinds of situations with such calmness. But this half is yet not completed, and Chronicle's already found the first of those kills. Kayak fighting from sight. Casey trying to retake this space, and Aves doing a brilliant job, but the backline has been compromised.
It has, and there's Alpha with a rifle here. The player's now trying to search towards CT. Aves being the sole player to do so. It's not really finding much.
Last
Take
player
this the full
standing.
9 yards. Aves gets caught, and now it is on Sadak. The captain to clutch it. Has a path to walk towards A, but locks eyes with Boaster. There is no way back for him now. Alpha, yeah, closing the net. Sadak boxed in, running for his life, but no savior in sight. 2 rounds between the teams. Brilliant recovery from Fnatic in the last few.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good half for both teams. Let's be honest, Fnatic, who's decided to start on the defender side, move on to the attack where we know
Spike
that
down.
they can thrive. That's the big thing here. The second half is what's going to make it. And well, we got some thoughts from Crashies on his first year with Fnatic.
Yeah, that we did. It will be great to hear from him and how he's been getting along with the team, making it back to another international grand final.
Yeah, so we've already locked champs, and obviously we won last stage, so we've kind of like accomplished our regional like dominance, I would say. It'd be nice to go back to back, but we're really looking forward like to champs and prepping for champs. So going into playoffs, there's not really much pressure for us. We're just gonna play, practice some stuff, and you know, if we can win, then it's great. But yeah, not too much pressure or anything.
Nice. All right, we got our round. We got our round. Let's go, boys. Are you sure you don't want to show the Killjoy?
First year VCT EMEA was definitely interesting. Never really thought I would like fly across the country and compete in like another region, especially to win my first like regional trophy in another region. It's very surreal to me, even to think about it now. But I definitely say like it was a successful year so far. Obviously the year's not over, but yeah, definitely successful leading up to this point.
A player who is starting to hit the levels we know he's capable of, but even then, contrasting it to the previous week, the series we saw from Crashies, the BBL game, probably his worst performance so far this stage. Hoping that we get more of that from him at Champs, though. You can get your tickets now, of course, using the QR code. We had a few more allocated recently, so make sure that you find yourself there. Kayak, the goat in the boat.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the big thing, right? The Orange and Black going to find themselves there, but they want to find themselves in a decent spot in this second half.
Yeah, absolutely, and to carry on that Crashy's point as well, I think the last time we saw him really suffer as much as he did last time out was in the G2 game, maybe getting a little bit in his own head against regional rivals, and with the BBL match as well, also bringing its own situational pressures. You've seen that already alleviated here. 15 and 7 heading now onto their attack side, where we expect the best from Fnatic.
I'm out of here.
Starting towards A lobby, and KC up to the challenge, trying to fight through Chronicle's Viper wall, and Fnatic actually found themselves, but Alpha, late to the party, wins that first fight.
Big duel for him to win, but Martin's still hanging around.
He wants that trade and gets it, backs away. But look at Fnatic, already so far up A long.
It's a long rotation here for KC.
Yeah, and Pyro found the players squirming out, manages to escape, can't quite get the pick, but Martin still holds on towards shot, and Kayak has set his sights on finding him, and does. That should allow the spike to go down. Fnatic looking for extra information on the last two.
The King of Pistol won't be outdone here. And with numbers on Fnatic's side, they've set up post, but still thinking about a potential flank with how long Martin was able to hold it down in sewers.
Yeah, there's absolutely no utility really that KC can use. Perhaps waiting for Sugetsu's smoke to chain their way out.
Looking for the contact on Kayak here.
Yeah, and well, Kron playing off him as well, trying to clear the corners and does so. This gets worrying because now at least Crashes against Sugetsu, but time getting low, and that's all Crashes needs to play with. Just deny Sugetsu the opportunity to defuse, and does so. Fnatic straight back with a pistol round win.
Back-to-back pistols for Fnatic, and this one screams all the signs of a KG elimination match that you'd expect, with KC's Paris hopes on the line. Martin does excellently well in holding on to Suez for as long as he did, and you can see that reflected in Fnatic's post-plant. Something which coming out of Toronto, they did want to try and work on. It had been a bit of an issue on this map specifically. But now you're just thinking about how much momentum can they build up early. KC all classics.
Yeah, but all 5 on A long.
That's a blue wall.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Facing the wrong way though. Guess if you were to really critique it, but yeah, no, quite literally. Chronicle is weaving his way around.
Yeah. Careful against Sugetsu though, so wall back up. Ooh, plenty of toxins to get out with.
You know, I was critiquing the craftsmanship, but that's a sturdy wall. They've not moved after that first player spotted. And it's good. It's good. Yeah. Allez, how many more of those do we want to potentially pick up? Alpha has spotted some targets at the very least, and
yeah,
from the Fnatic perspective here, you're looking at building up ults.
Saving grace though, realistically, was just a pistol player, right? That was Kron found, and all the other weaponry was on that C side with the spike ticking away. I don't even think KC are really going to attempt to retake this, and would rather just all go to the spike.
There it is again. But this is exactly what you've got to do on a round such as this. And when you talk of ults, one thing for KC that you're always going to be thinking about, and made up a lot of the previous half, was Ave's low-cost run it back, just 6 ult points, the cheapest in the game, and Martin already halfway to the Dimensional Drift. You're wondering, how can they partner up best as possible? 2 duelists that can flash. I mean, we don't really see Phoenix all too much, but if you take away Alpha, it's just 2 rifles in the next. It's exactly what it'll end up being, so good job from KC there.
Yeah. All even, coming into what will be the first rifle round, and in fact it looks like both sides will have a fair amount of it.
Ooh, 4 ifs. Now we know. 5-8, boys.
But the threat was identified and dealt with in the end. This looking like a pretty strong bonus, all things considered, for Fnatic. KC, once again, starting with bodies on A long, trying to push them out of lobby. Fnatic have very quickly crossed behind their own toxic screen.
They have, and Martin's been left all alone on A to hold this down. Sure supported by Cypher utility,
It screams retake setup to me when you look at the TP in the cam, but
that's a big pickup though in terms of information for Fnatic. It's only Kron being seen, and he's usually the luck player like they saw on the last round. So you look at the setup, and KC are leaning so heavy towards C.
Sadak will have notification of this push in with his trap, but Martin fakes the TP. He's committed to long.
Yeah, he's tried to commit to the fight, and it's Fnatic that's won every single one. A site opened, Spike can go down, and even enough time for Crashes to pick up an extra orb.
So it looks like Karmine Corp will reconsider here and not put any further effort in trying to change the round outcome. It has been settled. Fnatic finding 8 and moving in front in this map. Map of their opponent's choice, and while we have a moment to look at the veto here as well, it is different from what we saw between the two teams before. Bind, one which was previously played, but the addition of Corrode for Fnatic and just that one previous match against BBL, the one positive really to take from it last time out, I think is scary if you're KC.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Fnatic have been suffering from success, let's be honest, with the amount that they've played. We've already spoken about that. And I think coming out of that BBL game, there was a lot more question marks than exclamation marks about Fnatic's map pool. And right now, it seems as if with this performance, Fnatic are starting to answer those question marks.
It's the goal for them to rectify as much as possible. I think if they were to go out today, it would definitely be seen as a failure, despite the fact that the core objectives of this mission in Stage 2 have changed. KC with their second timeout. It's an early one in this second half right now. I don't often reference the crowd, but I heard someone shout "'cause they need it," and I think that's probably fairly accurate of an assessment. If you want to come up here and take my job, you can.
Do you know what, mate? I wouldn't mind that, actually. Just
we have like a fan come in and
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Do a competition for it?
Yeah, I should stop giving them airtime. It doesn't stop. But as we do dive back in, it is a bonus converted, and they see not yet challenged. You can see the frustration from Eng, someone who selflessly said he would remove himself from the setup if they didn't believe, they didn't trust in his ways to carry them through this lower run. But it's what has been asked of the team. And just looking at it here, someone else they've got to get past. Alpha is having a pretty good showing so far.
Yeah,
he knows what it means to go to an international event.
Knows how to win one as well. Knows how to hold down the fort, clutch up if needed in a grand final.
Yeah, we've seen it. But no Icebox in the veto and no Icebox in the upcoming champs, so no double spray downs perhaps, but who knows. KC immediately putting the pressure on, out of the timeouts. Love to immediately set the tempo, and you can see that with Martin buried at the bottom of mid, a TP to escape if needed.
There's a time limit on this position, right?
There is. You would still feel, though, that he would want to retain this positioning when you look at the rest of the team and this overcommitment towards the A site. Something else that the desk was discussing is how KC do like to flood as much as possible.
That first TP gone, repositioned, and this time you look at C, it's so much more open because there's not going to be a quick rotate towards that C site.
Crashes reveals Martin's position, but there's no one to deal with him right now. Still a sense of comfort in how he's set up here. KC recollecting information on A, remaining stalwart in their positions. 3 blue shirts ready for Fnatic.
And it looks like they're going to get the value from it, right? The fact that they've sat here for so long, and now there's more bodies working over. This looks like it could be a 5 versus 5 site take.
But still, a surplus of utility for Fnatic to escalate their efforts towards the KC stronghold on A. The blue wall built yet again, but cannot crumble if the road to Paris is to be a success. Trailing now in this game, Crashes opens things up from Graffiti. Alves getting sprayed with bullets, but it's Pyro at the double again. Their savior stepping up. Poster low has to respect the wall. There's no time for the plant to come in. KC have stood their ground and stood it successfully. 3 players on their feet. And the scoreline resolved equal once more.
The fact that they get the payoff, Karmine Corp, from just staying on that A side, not moving. I mean, Fnatic, sure they break the Cypher cam, but as they come in towards the site, the usual wait for the third like kind of regeneration of utility, that third set that we usually see in rounds is what ends up undoing them.
Sticking to their call as well, but can there be consistency, that word which we continue to throw around for KC, and their pickups on this defender's side, that the first of course, this time Martine left with Cypher util, a repetition in how this defense is functioning. It's Martine catches visual on Chronicle, and as you said before, starting to build up a picture of what this attacking default looks like for Fnatic.
Oh. Lucky boy to be getting away with his life there, Martine.
Portal closed.
Full face check.
Alves in the corner though. Could have a curveball to set up Sugetsu from long.
It's even played the other way around. You have this deep deposit now. Alves detached from the rest. Alpha still prowling outside front B, and as you see Fnatic starting to congregate towards A, you think that that's the late lurk. But no, Boaster, spike on his back. Joining up with his teammate here. Time really starting to wear thin here for Fnatic. It's only Martine on A.
It is only there. Kayak as well is the only attacking player. You might have heard that TP. Still, 20 seconds left. Fnatic need to make a move and try and get this spike down.
Yeah, full fake. They're heading towards B now. We've reached the 15-second mark. Still not yet made any progress onto the neck of the site itself. Martine with the first of the kills, and you're expecting more from KC. You're gonna get it. Martine on for a hat trick, and he'll manage to pick up all three of them. The spike has gone down in the meantime, but there's nothing left to be saved for Fnatic. Crashy's the final player to fall. It's a silver lining at best, but more than anything else, it's not the kind of attacking round that you expect from this Fnatic side.
No, not from the prowess that we know of all the players on the FNC side. With that being said, I think we could be starting to move very quickly in towards timeout territory, because let's be honest, right? KC, sure, in this round have done very well to get their deep deposits, but I don't think Fnatic have done enough to undo what KC want to do.
That's one way of putting it. I wholeheartedly agree that, yeah, you expect Boaster. He is one of the best, if not the best callers in the world on this map specifically. It's been around for the entirety of his tenure from 2021 up until this point, a long list of events of his own that you could go ahead and put on record. And it's Scut that looks to be leading the conversation, at least in the 60-second pause that we have from them right now, the timeout. Someone who, since coming into the setup, is so heavily involved, both him and Milan. You know, Milan the head coach, but I think, you know, to say that he's just an assistant would maybe undervalue the position. You can see how important he is to them.
Yeah, and I think it's not only just like Milan and the Fnatic side that have been speaking highly of Scott. We've seen it from previous teams that he's been on as well. And I mean, Milan, the job that he's done as well since the start, you can't just speak about Scott and what he's done and his additions. It's Milan moving up to that head coach role and putting his own ideas onto the team.
So seeing what their spin is here for Fnatic, not quite yet coming onto some of the ults that could really change the round outcome. KC still sat with Martine's Dimensional Drift. And the one change up on the defense is heavy focus to continue fighting middle.
Trap towards B as they try to fight out Garage. They get the value from it, but Crashes needs to escape. Too low to have another fight.
A 1-for-1 on Kayak. With how Martine's been performing so far, I don't know if that's the trade you perhaps want to take. And with A now looking like it might need to be recovered from KC, it's the missing ultimate as well, which poses to be a further issue. Ava's still flanking though.
Yeah, but the space that Fnatic have found at the same time, as Crashes looks to stand up to the flank, it doesn't work out, and now the front two players, or at least the front one of Poster, tries to find something back, and it doesn't work.
KC coming out of the timeout looking rejuvenated, a slight tweak in terms of their own positioning. A bold call to make to go and fight right out of garage, but it's well supported. Paranoia and the blind side. Aves continues that move onwards as the round continues. And when it expires, KC more ults, more control.
Yeah, the fact that they come out of that timeout with haymakers being thrown, just giving everything to Fnatic, and now they come out the better of it in terms of the ultimate cycle, right? One off that run it back.
Still with a dimensional drift as Martin has reprised his role in garage, TP towards backside C. Alpha perhaps the first to test, Fnatic queuing up into his position.
Throwing Kayak into the corner, there's so many bodies, and at least Martin's able to escape. Haves maybe dancing with the devil a little bit too much. KC have deposited a lot of bodies to respond to Fnatic's pressure.
Not an angle that you want to repickle too many times without support, but now Sadak by his side. KC in a 2-2-1. The solo Pyro saving face on A as Kron is continuing one of his vintage lurks. Getsu cancelling the ultimate. Martin here, there, and everywhere so far in this map.
How long does that TP last for?
So we're here to find out. Martin has been gutted. Crashes to collect him. Fnatic backpedaling. This paranoia to reinforce the space, still not committed.
30 seconds
But
left.
time getting low, and you know Fnatic need to commit to the C site.
Find lines of defensive cover, dark cover. Sugetsu in the corner, still yet to be cleared. Time ticking down. Boaster has the ult, repositions A, clean from Chronicle to remove Pyro. And then we'll get the plant in 5 versus 2. A save call perhaps for Karmine Corp now.
Fair play to Fnatic for being that cool, calm and collected.
And that's the other side of the coin. It's a round like that which gets you excited and proves exactly why we hold them in such high regard. Just trying to bait out those positions on the map. Uncover Martin, who continues to pose that threat even later into the round. We're seeing once more that KC are really enjoying these deep sea long deposits, getting players there. A very early heads up on the left-hand side of the map. But a positive now for Fnatic, and they've not had to spend any ults in the process either.
That they haven't. And with that, we will take a look at who our new boy on the server, right? Pyro, who's had a fairly big couple of rounds to the past this half.
He has, and then we immediately put up this graphic, which feels like a disservice to him, but these are the week 5 stats. It does place him rock bottom of the player performance standings regionally, but this no doubt will have been an improvement. And that's not what it was about. It's about building the routine, you know, how you set up the monitor, the mouse, making sure everything's in place, getting up in the morning, the boring stuff, but it plays its part.
And it does. And as for this round, the thing that's playing its biggest part, KC's rotations. Proactive as ever, be active as well to what Fnatic are doing. And with Martin being so far up A, he has no TP to get back, which he's deposited now, used up, so that he can get out on towards the A site after being cleared.
No second TP for him.
I'll handle this.
So he's going to try and force the issue himself, push the envelope. A majority cleared, but his own teammate Smoke, which has actually forced him to double back. Lockdown confirming that Fnatic have ambitions in the middle of the map as it stands. But KC are ready to respond to this. Aves still with the run it back into this retake potential.
I don't know if that can got destroyed there in the end, and it seems if the ultimates are going to come through, I'll run it back in an overdrive, but Spike denied.
Ollie kill. Alves looking for more, denied it, but it's on the opposite side. Fnatic have to retrieve it with no time again.
Yeah, in no man's land, need to brawl their way through the site, and it's not going to work. It's a choke point that KC are using, turning this into a meat grinder, and it's mostly Fnatic's bodies that have gone through it. Having to save, having to call it right here. And it's going to be KC reaching 11 within touching distance of map point.
Time is a resource, as they say, and with Fnatic put through the tenderizer here, it's intuitive play from Alves with the hot hands, but once that molly's played its part, it's some of the problems we saw from both the BBL and the Liquid game for Fnatic. Slight hesitation in these latter stages of the round when they're needing to recuperate and break into a site for the first time, leaving themselves little opportunity to do so. And from the barrier drop here, KC all hands on deck on A. Have the reaction that they perhaps would have wanted. Fnatic immediate to take up the C space.
Yeah, but is this what KC want? Is this the plan for the round? Sadak maybe stepping a bit too far. Allows to get the entry, an indirect trade on towards Crashes, and an extra ping onto Alpha.
Pyro has been very good with his Sova ult so far. A flexible player stepping into the lineup, and part of this flood now backside.
Oh, Kayak at the back of sight, looking to hold up himself, but can't quite do it. This is turning into a death match of a round.
The spike is heading elsewhere. Fnatic want nothing more to do with C as it stands. Kron has the pit, a molly. Boaster of paranoia. There is a stockpile of utility. These last few final pieces that could stave off KC. The Pyro has the drone, and that is the natural counter to clearing this space. It needs big value.
And it does. Boaster's not there to destroy it, it's just Kron, which means that he takes a step out of the pit. Boaster watching for the heaven drop, but there's a time in there for KC to work with.
Still not managing to get into the pit right now, walking around the side, dropping from the heavens instead, and Pyro is heaven sent. A triple kill on the round from KC's new player! But from left field, Chronicle gives you a reminder of exactly who he is.
A gut punch for KC, a masterclass from Chronicle, maybe a sprinkle of luck, right? Maybe a sprinkle.
But you don't get lucky without putting yourself in the right position. As he traces Pyro, he finds everyone else. A Rebel clutch in the pit, and I don't think even he can believe what's happened.
Sometimes you need to take it, right? Sometimes you need a bit of luck to come back into a map. Because it's been KC, let's be honest, for most of this, ahead.
Immediately cracking down on Fnatic with Martin through middle. Spotted by the alarm bot. Only Sadak on site as it stands. He has struggled to dissuade Fnatic up until this point, and the support is a little late to arrive. Has to win the first fight and does.
He does, and there's more utility to come through, but that neural theft is massive for information.
Second reveal, hat off his head. Sadak letting it rip. Now KC in a position where they do feel yet again inclined to take 12 rounds. The setback only temporary. But Fnatic with the players to still create problems. You have to be thinking about Alpha here.
He's the big one, the one to unlock the site. Sadak. Oh, and Pyro in the corner allows Fnatic into the site potentially.
And now we need another big Martin moment.
30 seconds
30-second
left.
mark now crossed. Spike still committed. And all three players on the KC side here.
As Graffiti needs to be cleaned, that's where a double stack of KC deposits are.
For the execution as it comes in, Martin has his. And both duelists deny it. Fnatic trying to weave their way back into another heavily unfavorable round, but this time it is no good. Luck can't strike twice.
Fnatic have a big challenge to defy KC taking this map. Yeah, And at this moment in time, KC's defense, it has to be said, the reads have been looking very spot on.
That's the one thing that you're focusing on, the reads, the initial setup. It's when the round grows long and tired that Fnatic are the masters of manipulation. Back to garage we go. Alves on the line. The slightest of slivers between the double doors. Crashies could be the first.
So up close and personal, he decides to go stinger in hand. But he has the spike.
Fnatic have really fanned out on their map control, but back to garage we go. It's the drone that Martin wants to try and play in front. With no TP, he's committed still to this corner.
It's a big one to win, and manages to protect the spike as well. Look at KC at the same time. They lose that pick in mid, and then start to look elsewhere towards the extremities, towards C long, through a sewer. But Fnatic, they go elsewhere. They start to make that spike towards B.
Problem with Fnatic's recent B post plants is they haven't had a second leg to stand on. It's been very one-dimensional in terms of the setup, but this time they do create a little bit of breathing room for themselves. Boaster towards backside, but it's the back line that you've got to be looking at, and Sadak has already given numbers.
Oh, Vez up against Alpha, yeah, and it's Alpha to win it out. Sadak looking for something to go his way. The buy's still in favour of KC, even though Fnatic have a player advantage. But the set piece to set up Kayak and deny KC the round is there, as every single player will drop, and Fnatic bring it within one.
Fnatic will not play a game of chasing shadows. They create some light for themselves in the dark at last. This call to send Kayak through Link was brilliant. Alpha holding it down as usual, but just waiting for the contact before making the play. Looking a whole lot better. It feels like night and day round on round from Fnatic here, and they need one more to push KC to yet another overtime in the last couple of weeks.
Another A lobby start for Fnatic through Kayak. Kron there as well, sure. But Martin and Sadak, a combo that we've seen quite a few times on this defense side.
Your Yoru player is always expected to be on those extremities, collecting as much info as possible, but in tandem with Sadak, it has created a lot of the setup for these reads that we've been talking about, but this time, KC are a little bit light on their feet towards A. Having two such proficient riflers, you're not really getting the op out for them much either, so it's not like it's an easy one for Martin to land.
Just spotted trying to jump up and take information, so we know that the Euro is still here, and Body's being pulled across, but it was just to take the ultimate orb. Lockdown available, and looks to be used. Oh, Alpha, no, maybe deciding elsewhere. KC though, they want to go hunting for a pick.
Oh, Kron cutting off one of the avenues of approach though for Fnatic, and without strong sewer control, it's the lockdown long instead. Can't fully push KC off site.
But Martinez went searching and found a whole load of danger, and on top of that, Hunter's Fury to deny anybody getting into sight, and Boaster at the same time cuts off the rotates. It's looking worse and worse for KC.
One player less to consider though on the site as Boaster is removed. Crashy the same in main. Effective 3-on-3 if they challenge it, but KC slow on the uptake.
Yeah, that they are, but there's delay to come through. But Pyro at the same time finds Alpha here. From where? A brilliant spam, but Crashes at the same time finds that Sova. Time ticking away, and KC need to get a move on. If they're to deny overtime, which they will not, it's Boaster to take Fnatic there.
4 overtimes in their last 4 maps played. KC winning the final 2 in the series against Liquid, but it feels like such a similar start. A frustrating one for them, but for Fnatic, Champions grade quality that you expect to be able to
Holy moly.
turn these kinds of situations around. Now coming into the first bout of OT, it's back to the defense for them.
That being said, Kayak is going to bring out a glass cannon operator for this defense. You know his confidence, just in general, never mind just the fact with the operator and the fact that he's willing to take no shields.
Try and set it up instantaneously. Kayak on the line. Sadak has to cross. Receives himself a shot in the midriff. With the Cypher gone, the scaling towards A suddenly feels a little short-handed. And you've still got all of that utility to deal with towards the C site if you're Karmine.
Martin, though, you look towards that mid space. He's trying to be the protagonist, trying to be the guy to make it happen. Maybe actually it's just deposited as a potential way to cut off the rotates and get something back, but KC still slow roll their way onto C, where Alpha and Kron lie in wait.
Inserting himself in the corner, Molly at the feet of Abba's decision to be made. He sits around for long enough to collect it, but there's no second swing. Oh, it finally comes in delayed from Boaster. Schoolboy, it would seem, shut down, and now numbers KC.
They know exactly what they need to do to hit in towards this site, but Alpha is looking
30
for something,
seconds left.
looking for information, maybe even a pick to get back in towards Fnatic's favour as they are a player down.
In the meantime, having Kayak on the other side of the map, collecting all of that information, it has enabled the stack, and still Alpha goes down. No synergy between the remaining members. Has to be the Crashy show. Needs to see his name in lights, but put out in the dark by Martin.
4 against 1. A Kayak clutch, a glass cannon op, and a run it back heading his way. Make it a 5th, but he's found the first of them. Wolfbang is ambitious. Those ambitions put to rest. Karmine Corp now up to map point again. One more opportunity, this one in OT to convert. Must just reiterate, it is their map pick. Corrode laying in wait ahead of us. To put further measures in place, there is a timeout coming through on the KC side. Look pretty good after their pauses so far. They have, and it's an important one, right? Advantage in overtime to try and send this one home. Fnatic, though, allowed a chance to speak themselves. Milan and Scott probably trying to come up with some sort of plan on this attack, because at the end of the day, the attack, it felt as if Fnatic were the ones shooting themselves in the foot a little bit.
It really depends which round you're talking about. We saw some brilliantly played rounds and some rounds which looked a little bit more laboured. The history between Boaster and Sadak going all the way back to their first meeting in the lock-in grand final, of course, where the history of Fnatic being a team which choked in those kinds of situations was completely flipped on its head, and that really set up their year in 2023. Think about that one a little bit more when we head to the new map after this. Pivotal, a factor that could play. It's KC back on the defense, not leaving anything down to chance. Already wanting to get aggressive, as they have done so many times.
But will it be their undoing? It seemed as if Fnatic were able to adapt to it towards the latter end of that second half. Just like KC adapted to how Fnatic wanted to play through mid themselves, a timing and Alfie are up close against the Vez, and he tries to take him out and will do so. A big one to find, but KC still find Boaster.
Sadak has a decision to make. Does he want to play on site or drop off? Looks like he's gonna stick it as long as possible, and the trap's done its job. Alpha closing the distance. Quick trade.
There it is, and garage control important because there is no smokes and there is no players left on C. Alpha caught out trying to escape. Brings us back to a 2-on-2.
Pyro with Martin. So many big clutches between the two of them, and now the 2-on-2, Kron and Crashies.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much initiation to try and get out of garage, but that utility could be the run. Oh! But instead it's Martin, and he'll win out. Map 1 for KC.
We've been waiting to see Martin make his return to the top of form, but it was a driving force behind KC on this opening map win against Fnatic. The road to Paris, a long one, But if they can replicate this kind of success in quick fashion, then maybe, just maybe, there's a chance.